What's up, everyone? Welcome to the March 3rd edition of FanDuel Tournament Plays presented by Prize Picks. I'm your host, Adam Scherer. You can follow me on Twitter at ShipMyMoneyDFS. And as a reminder, you get one free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum when you sign up and make a deposit at Prize Picks. Be sure to use the code Awesemo to receive a 100% first deposit bonus up to $100. We have a 7-game NBA slate tonight, a little bit of pending injury news, probably a little bit more than we've had on recent slates, but still nothing crazy. As always, be sure to tune in to the Deeper Dive and Live Before Lock on the Awesemo YouTube channel for more up-to-date information and injury news. But for now, we're going to take a look at 5 of the top tournament options on FanDuel on tonight's 7-gamer. Starting at number 5, Zach LaVine, projected for about 15% ownership, has about an 18% chance of being in the optimal lineup. LaVine has a favorable matchup against the Atlanta Hawks. This game has a total north of 230 points, and LaVine is reasonably priced at $7,700. He is shooting guard only, so doesn't have quite as much flexibility as some other players, but still comes with a very high ceiling. He's averaged 1.05 FanDuel points per minute and 36.3 minutes per game in the games that he's played without Lonzo Ball and with DeMar DeRozan and Nikola Vucevic this year. But we know that he's very capable of producing at a rate much higher than 1.05 FanDuel points per minute when his shot's falling. He has about a 27% usage rate in those games. Number 4, Clint Capela, projected for 21% ownership, has about a 24% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Capela is $6,400, center only. He's averaged 1.2 FanDuel points per minute in the games he's played without John Collins this year. He's also averaged 28.7 minutes per game. Atlanta will also be without Onyeka Okongwu tonight. I don't necessarily think that matters to Capella. They have Gorgie Jang. He probably will just slot into Okongwu's backup role. We did also see them close with a small lineup against Boston last game. I think that's less likely tonight against Vucevic and Chicago's front court, but you never know. One way or the other, though, I expect Capella to be in that 28 to 30 minute range. He's still affordably priced, and the pace of this game should lead to some increased rebounding opportunities as well. Number 3, LeBron James has struggled recently, but he's $10,600, projected for 20% ownership with a 24% chance of being in the optimal lineup. He has small forward and power forward eligibility. Despite his recent struggles, he's still averaged 1.54 FanDuel points per minute in the games he's played without Anthony Davis so far this season. He's also averaged 36.6 minutes per game in those games. The Lakers have a decent matchup tonight against the LA Clippers, only about a 2-point spread on this one, so relatively likely to be competitive. The Lakers are very bad. Maybe they'll still find a way to get blown out, but it's likely that you end up getting 36 or 37 minutes from LeBron, and he's going to need to carry this team if they're going to make any noise as far as the playoff race goes this season. Number 2, Al Horford, projected for 25% ownership with a 29% chance of being in the optimal lineup. Horford is $6,200 with power forward and center eligibility. The Celtics are without Jaylen Brown tonight, which doesn't have much of an impact on Al Horford's rates. He's produced about the same fantasy points per minute this year, whether both of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown are on the floor or just Jason Tatum without Jaylen Brown. But where it does impact Horford is it makes it likely that he plays more minutes. We've seen his playing time trend up recently anyway, and without Brown, there's obviously more minutes to go around. And Boston, just they have one roster spot or one starting lineup spot basically to fill. So Horford's at less risk of, ending up playing 25, 26 minutes like we see sometimes. One other positive for Horford is that his playing time this year, typically I don't care all that much about what guys have done over the last month or any arbitrary, short sample size number. But with Horford, I find it kind of interesting just because he is a guy that's been around for a long time. It is, possible to think that at times he kind of just gets worn down. We saw him start this season out really well from a fantasy standpoint. Then he went through a month and a half or 2-month stretch where he was averaging around 0.8 to 0.85 fantasy points per minute. Over the last month, he's back to 1.04 FanDuel points per minute. So even though he doesn't get a bump in production necessarily from Brown being out, I do just like the way he's been playing recently. I like the way his minutes have been trending. And then with Brown being out, you do potentially just get more stable minutes from Horford as well. And then number 1, Dejounte Murray, very, very popular on tonight's slate, projected for 40% ownership, but he also has a 42% chance of being in the optimal lineup. He is wildly underpriced tonight against the Sacramento Kings. San Antonio has about a 124 point implied total. Murray has averaged 1.55 FanDuel points per minute and 35.8 minutes per game in the games that he has played without Derek White this season. And you just don't have that many pay up options on tonight's slate anyway. You still have Luka, you still have LeBron, you still have Curry, but you don't have Giannis, you don't have Jokic. It's just a little bit easier to pay up in general. And then when you're talking about a $9,600 price tag on Murray, it's extremely easy to get there in one of the most appealing games on the slate against the Sacramento Kings, despite the high ownership. So to recap, the top 5 options on FanDuel as things currently stand: number 5, Zach LaVine; number 4, Clint Capela; number 3, LeBron James; number 2, Al Horford; and number 1, Dejounte Murray.